During the final years of the Trudeau government, nicotine pouches, which are a tobacco-free tool smokers use to quit, entered the Canadian market. Originally, they were sold at convenience stores, well, at least until Health Minister Mark Holland restricted access to them, banned most flavors, and required them to be sold in pharmacies.
Well, I'm pleased to be able to announce that in the Budget Implementation Act, we're seeking the authority for us to be able to take several different actions that I had referenced before. In the first order, and we would want these powers to be in effect so that we could do it in June, it would be to restrict flavors for all cessation products. So this is for nicotine pouches, vaping, any current cessation products and future products to those that are logically coherent with the purposes of cessation. You know, Winterberry Splash or Tropical Breeze, this nonsense is going to be over is once we get the authority to do this in the Budget Implementation Act.
The minister's justification was to prevent youth access, and that's certainly a noble goal, specifically to prevent people from becoming addicted to nicotine. Nicotine is, of course, highly addictive, but nicotine pouches are exponentially less risky than cigarettes and actually don't contain any tobacco at all. Let's look at the facts. According to researchers in Germany, nicotine pouches are 99% less harmful than cigarettes, which is exactly the same risk associated with quitting tools like Nicorette that have been on the market for decades. And when it comes to flavors, research that shows that availability of flavors helps adults quit. And that is exactly why Nicorette products come in flavors like fresh fruit or extreme chill mint. In fact, this is exactly why the US FDA in January approved 20 flavors of nicotine pouches, because a variety of flavors means a variety of options for those who are looking to ditch smoking for good. And then we have the issue of pharmacies only being allowed to sell these quitting tools. Critics of the plan argued that this is backwards, because if convenience stores can be trusted to sell cigarettes, which cause cancer, why would they not be trusted to sell products that don't cause cancer and help people quit cigarettes? Not to mention the fact that in order for smokers to be prompted for a less risky alternative, it only makes sense to have that less risky alternative sold alongside cigarettes. The cognitive dissonance here was never really addressed by the previous health minister, but now the Conservatives are speaking out. First was MP Brad Viz, who presented a petition in the House of Commons.
The Government of Canada has banned the sale of nicotine pouches from convenience stores, gas stations, and online, and will only allow pharmacies to sell the product behind the counter. Small businesses, including convenience stores, have a proven track record of responsibly selling age-restricted products, including nicotine pouches. The petitioners are asking for the government to repeal this overburdensome regulation and to keep the process and sale of these products as it was before.
But it isn't just Brad Viz who's calling on the Carney government to repeal these Trudeau-era rules. MP Jamil Javani has launched his own campaign on the issue.
Free the Zin. Canadian adults should be free to choose the products that work for them. And nicotine pouches are proven to help people quit smoking. Right now, under the Canadian government's current rules, the Liberals are only allowing a small number of nicotine pouches to be sold, and they can only be sold by pharmacists, who are telling the Canadian government they don't want that responsibility because they have enough to do. We believe that nicotine pouches should be sold anywhere cigarettes are available because they work to stop smoking.
Now, you may be wondering, has this actually worked anywhere else? Has the availability of nicotine pouches actually reduced smoking rates anywhere else in the world? It's a good question, and the answer is Sweden. Sweden's smoking rate is now down to 5%, while Canada is stuck at around 10%. So how did the Swedes achieve this? Well, by embracing harm reduction in the form of nicotine pouches. Pouches have been a Swedish staple for decades. In fact, in the late 1970s, when 40% of Swedish men were still smoking, pouches began a quiet revolution. Today, a third of male ex-smokers in Sweden credit these low-risk alternatives with their liberation from cigarettes. And studies confirm that those who start with pouches are far less likely to take up smoking. And what is the end result? Well, cigarettes have been displaced, smoking-related illnesses have plummeted, and Sweden is now the public health envy of the world. Over 3 million Canadians still smoke. But imagine the public health benefits if that number were cut in half. With Sweden as a useful case study and the Conservatives pressing for change, will the Carney government undo yet another one of the Trudeau government's policies? Well, the jury is still out on that one. Back to you.